Madam President. This past weekend, we lost a brave and uncommonly fearless American. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg represented many things to many people. For some, her work was the gold standard of legal advocacy. For others, her arguments proved to be intellectual flashpoints, sparking opportunities to think critically about what we believe and why we believe it. But for each and every one of us, she served as living proof that the status quo is often much more fragile than it appears. And so today, I think I speak for so many Tennesseans when I say we are thankful beyond measure for that enduring legacy and the standard that she set as she broke barriers and crashed through glass ceilings, opening opportunities for women. I hope that I am as effective as she in increasing opportunities for women each and every day. I ask that the remainder of my remarks, Madam President, be entered separately into the record.
Without objection.
Last week marked another Constitution Day celebration. It could not have come at a better time because for just one little moment, it helped us pause and contemplate two very important things. First, we took time to think about those values that our founders knew. They knew that these values were essential to the establishment of a model republic. And secondly, we remembered the progress we have made in deciding for ourselves how the passage of time changes or does not change, what we can do to make that more perfect union even more so. Free speech, petition, and protest, the right to defend ourselves, the right to cast a vote. These are the freedoms that unite us in times of turmoil, whether we find ourselves in the midst of all-out war or just a particularly contentious election year. And I would argue that how a nation reacts to that turmoil says more about its foundations than it does about who controls the news cycle on any given day. Divisive voices are hard at work in this country, Madam President, and they're doing their very best to convince our friends and families and neighbors that our foundation is weak and that our founding principles are no longer good enough. I find that very sad. They want us to believe that America as we know it is suddenly irredeemable, that it just can't be saved. And you might ask yourself, why are they saying all this? In spite of hundreds of years and millions of Americans proving the exact opposite is true. Here is what I think. They say it because they want us to give up. They want our neighbors, our families, our friends. Give up. Call it quits. Our best days are behind us. We've all heard them say this. They say, throw the Constitution in the trash. Rewrite it. Start over. And after you throw the Constitution in the trash, then let's reimagine the world's greatest democracy through our very own destructive lenses of socialism, critical theory, and political correctness. That's what they say. And as I'm sure we've all seen, they've come up with some fairly persuasive methods to try and get their way. But I believe that in the end, these efforts will all be in vain because when push comes to shove, we, the American people, always manage to remember where we've come from and to remember who we are. You know, it's interesting, Madam President, I think somehow we Americans always find our way home, back to those first principles. Indeed, I pray that that continues. Our founders saw what tyranny really looked like. They saw it up close and personal because they had to live through it. They knew exactly what would happen if they put the fate of the republic in the hands of men alone. So, what did they do? To give that insurance policy, if you will, that democracy and a democratic republic would continue and would stand. They drafted a constitution recognizing that our rights are a gift from God, and that these rights are not a product of government action, or they're not subject to the whims of a mob. They were also forward-thinking. They gave us everything we need to improve upon their work. I think it's important to remember that we have done just that. Over the course of more than 2 centuries, we have built a nation that is freer, more equal, and, yes, striving every day to be that more perfect union. Not because outside forces compelled us to do so, but because we, as Americans, chose to make it that way. When I see that a friend or a neighbor has forgotten this, I like to remind them that 2 of the most emotional and powerful words in the English language are remember and imagine. I tell them, stop for just a moment, close your eyes, and remember what you really love about this country. Remember the special moments. Remember what your parents and your grandparents have told you about love of country. Remember the sacrifices that they have made. And now, just imagine, what would your children and grandkids accomplish? What would they accomplish if they too are allowed to grow up in a place where liberty and justice is for all, where they are allowed to dream these big dreams and then dream up a way to make those dreams come true? You know, these are things that are valued above all else. And of course, as we look at our past and we remember, we look at the future, and we know that finding common ground, when we find common ground, we see potential, and potential gives us hope. And Madam President, I like to say that hope is staking a claim on an action, on a goal that you're going to achieve. So it is my fervent hope that we continue to stand on our constitutional principles and that we defend the foundation of this nation that has made these big dreams of so many Americans have the opportunity to come true. I yield the floor.